Today we're going to take a look at the S-Lab Phantasm 2 from Salomon. It's a $275 carbon-plated super shoe that has a 37.5 millimeter heel, 28.5 millimeter forefoot, so 9 millimeter drop, and it is releasing in October. It weighs about 7.4 ounces, 210 grams in a US 9. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, Sam from Road Trail Run. Today we're going to take a look at the Salomon S Lab Phantasm 2. It's a brand new shoe from Salomon, and it will be releasing in October for $275. So let's get into the details. It's a strong new contender. If you like your super shoes a bit on the more mellow side, a bit less aggressive in the forefoot, but still it is a top-notch racer. Okay, let's talk about our S-Lab Phantasm 2. So it's an all-new shoe from Salomon. It has a dual density PEBA midsole with an unusual, I think the only other one I can think of, softer lower layer. The SC Elite 3 from New Balance has something similar, and a firmer upper layer. So what that lower layer does is it cushions the plate really well. This is about the quietest super shoe I've ever run. It's very competitive in weight at 7.4 ounces, 210 grams, and its stack height is not at the max at 37.5 a heel, 28.5 a forefoot. And you'll say, wow, it looks higher than that. Well, it's quite unusual in that the red here, the midsole sidewalls rise in the forefoot, and that plays quite a positive role in the ride here by stabilizing the front of the foot. So a few more details on the shoe. The upper is a mono mesh with overlays. There's no gusset tongue. The tongue, and if you remember the lower stack non-supercritical foam S-Lab Phantasm CF, it had a terrible tongue. Here, it's about the thinnest tongue I've ever experienced in a marathon shoe. It's attached up near the top here, as you can see. Lace up is really fine. So the support from the upper comes from this wider throat, or the eye stay lace holder, and this long overlay which extends all the way to the front. So that really keeps you well aligned with those midsole sidewalls. Further, we have another overlay that's really the extension. It's a single piece of the eye stay that wraps all the way around the heel. So we have a moderately rigid heel counter, a true heel counter. And then it tops up here so that you don't have irritation with this knit material. It is a comfortable fit. Here's a picture of it on my foot. I would call the fit generous and very secure, so with lots of foot splay. So it's really a great marathon type fit, but it certainly holds well at shorter, kind of faster. It's a bit tubular in shape, but you're very well held by these parallel, if you will, zones of support all the way through. It's got some nice bolsters at the rear. Underfoot, we have Conda grip rubber in with little nubs here. I'm seeing a little bit of wear up front, and we'll talk about why that may be in terms of the ride. And Conda grip at the rear, as you can see, very little wear, just a touch of scuffing at the rear because I did run some slower miles in it. So as we start to talk about the ride here, what you'll notice here is a very soft initial landing of the heel, but it's not soft all the way through as, say, the SC Elite 3 is, or even Endorphin Pro 3 from Saucony, because you've got firmer foam up above. So the less you kind of linger on the heel, you get a very pleasant soft landing, and then you move forward. It's not particularly at a 9 millimeter drop. It really doesn't, it feels lower. It feels like 6, maybe 5, the slower you go, because you're compressing that soft heel. But as soon as you pick up the pace, it rides very nicely. Now let's talk a little bit about the ride here, because it is I would say more mellow in feel than many super shoes, because our spoon-shaped carbon plate, which is located just above this soft foam, is very, very well cushioned, if you will. This is by far the quietest super shoe I've ever run. And you can see there's the plate is more towards the center, but you've got this little layer here that kind of dampens any shock from the plate. In terms of the geometry, because we have that soft heel, the plate itself, I don't have a schematic yet, other than they say it's spoon shaped, is somewhat flatter in feel. So there's no big hump through the midfoot, especially if you land a bit further back, as I do. You're pretty much on a kind of a flatter plane, and then you take advantage of the front for a somewhat more kind of vertically oriented rebound, although there is some roll. I'd like to see a bit more roll to this shoe. Maybe by making this soft foam at the heel, the firmer stuff up above, that would kind of give it a truer drop. Maybe tone down the midsole sidewalls to give it a bit more kind of flex. There, it's obviously a rigid carbon shoe, but here's the thing: the ride is really, really friendly without being mushy or hampered by a plate that's kind of not in the mix unless you're running super fast. Salomon says the shoe is designed for runners who can manage 650 a mile or faster. I'm not sure I agree with that. I was running in the upper 7-minute miles, and this thing really came alive. Even at those paces. Above 920, 915 miles, you start to feel the softness, but you never feel the plate kind of bumping against your foot unless you're right on it. So I think it's a good option for racers who, at any distance really, who are in, say, the 8-minute, 8:20 pace. Maybe that might be kind of the upper limit. Now, some comparisons. Well, the one that comes to mind first is the Nike Vaporfly. Not so much the 3, which has a more aggressive kind of ramp at the front, but the earlier ones in terms of being a kind of smooth, easy to roll shoe. Here there's less of a roll factor, but it is a very easy, smooth roll. Compared to the Endorphin 3 from Saucony, well, here we sense the plate much less. There's much less of a kind of a final speed roll. This is a soft ride that's a touch more friendly. If we look at the Adios Pro from Adidas, that is resolutely a elite shoe. If you're not up on the front of that shoe, you're going to be in trouble. Here, you won't be in trouble, and I'd venture to say that even many faster marathoners, unless they're super, super elite and always up on the front, would benefit from this kind of bit more elegantly relaxed ride. Let's talk about the Hoka Rocket X. That one is very similar top foam, maybe a touch softer in its top foam, very similar PEBA foam, but it's a single density. It's if you will, the lower part is firmer. Plate is much more noticed in the Rocket X. Its upper does not have a full heel counter. So this one very similar. Probably if you were really all out, you'd probably lean towards the Rocket X for, say, a 10K. Now, probably the closest comparison for me is the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite number 2. Very similar stack heights, a bit denser, bouncier foam, another very nice upper, a bit more noticeable plate. So I have a full detailed written review on Road Trail Run. You can find the link here. But in summary, Salomon has come out of the gate, if you will, with their first true super shoe with this Phantasm, S-Lab Phantasm 2. It's a quite pricey shoe at $275, but it is very elegant riding and very friendly without being mushy, over soft, or kind of lost between carbon plate and soft foam. It is an excellent choice, really, at all distances. For your faster runner, and also I think a little bit unusually for the more pedestrian of us in the pack. I think a key factor in its ability to rebound off the front while having kind of a flatter feeling carbon plate are the midsole sidewalls. They do reduce kind of flexibility and roll, I think, a bit, and the hold of the upper that results. So you're very well aligned through here, very, very steady. In terms of the overall kind of rating of this shoe, I'm rating it very highly, and I think for my 10Ks to halves, it'll be right up there with the Vaporfly and the Puma in terms of what I might select. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great run.